Welcome. I'm Diane Carbo with Caregiver Relief. Today's topic is on critical insights. What did the pandemic teach us about fixing the caregiving system? There's a lot to share here. The pandemic shed light on the fragility of our caregiving systems, striking at the very core of our social fabric. It taught that robust, compassionate healthcare structures are not just ideal, they're critical. In this article, we're going to talk about what the pandemic teaches us about our healthcare's hidden fault lines and the resolve needed to mend them. Let's delve into the intricate balance of mental health, staff shortages, and financial strain that has come to the forefront of this unprecedented time. The key takeaways in this podcast will be the pandemic exposed significant mental health challenges for caregivers and seniors, with increased stress, anxiety, depression, and loneliness due to social isolation and the heavy toll on caregiving duties. There was a critical shortage of well trained caregivers for hire, which strained memory care and home health care services, leading to the expanded telehealth services and lessons on the necessity of preparing for future healthcare crisis. Efforts to address the caregiver crisis post-pandemic are vital, focusing on managing caregiver burnout, overcoming social isolation, and utilizing advanced technology to assist seniors to age in place. The first thing I want to talk about is the impact that COVID-19 had on mental health of caregivers and seniors. The pandemic has significantly highlighted the mental health challenges among caregivers and seniors. Overwhelmed healthcare systems, social distancing measures, and the fear of a novel virus have exacted a heavy toll on the mental well-being while also putting a strain on our caregivers' immune systems. As the global pandemic unfolded, caregivers and seniors grappled with stress and anxiety, and with concerns ranging from health risk to the pressures of caregiving amidst a global crisis. Let's talk about the stress and anxiety everybody had. The pandemic introduced unexpected stressors, leading to heightened anxiety among caregivers and seniors. Worries about COVID-19 health risk and extra pressure from caregiving duties led to heightened stress levels. This stress further exacerbated existing health care problems and, in some cases, led to new ones. This situation firmly reminds us of the significant role mental health plays in our overall well being. So, I want to talk about depression and loneliness in seniors and family caregivers. This has been a problem for decades as our aging population grows. During the pandemic, depression and loneliness became increasingly prevalent among seniors and caregivers. It was already bad, it just made it really worse. Isolation measures, while necessary for disease control, had the unfortunate side effect of increasing feelings of loneliness and depression. It also increased feeling of fear and anxiety, fear of death, fear of getting something that they'd pass on to somebody else. For seniors living alone, the isolation was particularly harsh, leading to higher rates of depression. A sharp increase in depression levels among senior population and family caregivers which has been observed for more than a decade, provided evidence of this increase, this sharp increase. The lack of work. So now I want to discuss the lack of workplace support for family caregivers. Beyond the emotional toll, the pandemic amplified the need for workplace support for family caregivers. Juggling work demands with caregiving responsibilities, many caregivers found themselves stretched thin and struggling to maintain a work-life balance. The lack of support from workplaces added to the existing stress making the caregiving journey even more challenging. I want to talk about the high financial cost of caregiving on families. The pandemic further highlighted the financial pressures on families engaging in caregiving. The costs associated with caregiving were already high before the pandemic. However, the crisis further compounded these costs, leading to significant financial losses for families. Beyond the emotional and physical toll, the financial burden intensified the stress for caregivers. The pandemic also created a shortage of well-trained, reliable caregivers for hire. This didn't happen not before the pandemic. Now let's talk about the shortage of well-trained, reliable caregivers for hire. The pandemic also spotlighted the shortage of competent, reliable caregivers for hire. The rapidly aging population, coupled with staffing problems in home care agencies, led to a strain in the caregiving sector. This is continuing now and forward. It's continuing. We have a caregiving, a humanitarian crisis in our country right now. Not to mention the physically and emotionally demanding nature of the job added to the issue. This shortage had a ripple effect on various aspects of healthcare services. We saw strained memory care units in home health care. Memory care units and home health care services face the brunt of caregiver shortages, which continue today beyond and will continue beyond the next decade. We have a problem in this country. The demand for these services increased, but the lack of caregivers led to a strain, compromising the quality of care provided to seniors. I have to tell you, I was really excited about the telehealth expansion. The pandemic did us a favor in that respect because despite the challenges, the caregiver deficit also created opportunities for innovation. Telehealth services expanded to fill the gap, providing essential healthcare support for seniors and their family members. Due to the shortage, telehealth services became increasingly crucial, especially for those in remote areas. And because of the shortage of help everywhere right now, telehealth is continuing to grow, which is very positive because hospitals, small community hospitals, and even big teaching hospitals are closing in the country due to the low reimbursements we have with Medicare, Medicaid, and Obamacare. It's just not sustainable to function on that level of reimbursement. So we have to be prepared for the crisis that is now here and going to explode. So let's talk about future crises because they're here. While the pandemic was devastating, it offered valuable lessons for future crises. Some of the lessons include the importance of addressing the caregiver shortage. That's direct care workers. The need for support systems for those in need. That is for the family caregivers and their care recipients. The necessity of preparing for future healthcare crisis. We're in that now. We're not being proactive at all in this country. We are reactive. So we also found the need for improved support services for caregivers. This has been needed for 20, 30 years. And the growing healthcare community, the aging population, there's more needs now than ever before. And we need to address the lack of transportation services available in suburban and rural areas. This is something that really came out and made people aware. It's been an ongoing problem, but with the aging population, again, the hospitals closing and doctors retiring, we need to figure out something to help family caregivers with the lack of transportation, especially that's available in the suburban and rural areas. These lessons can help guide us in better managing and responding to future challenges, including everyday tasks. The pandemic emphasized the significance of planning and communication for the well being of seniors and caregivers. Let's address the caregiver crisis post-pandemic. As we transition into the post-pandemic world, tackling the caregiver crisis continues to be a priority. The pandemic served as a catalyst, and boy, did it was a catalyst to bring to light the challenges faced by caregivers and highlighting the need for more supportive services, policies, and systems. Challenges and burnout of family caregivers and direct care workers. Let's talk about that. Family caregivers and direct care workers faced a myriad of challenges during the pandemic. Some of these challenges included burnout. Many caregivers experienced physical and emotional exhaustion from the demands of their roles, lack of support and resources. Caregivers often lacked the necessary support and resources to effectively carry out their responsibilities. We've had a high turnover rate that is continuing to occur today. The combination of burnout and the lack of support led to a high turnover rate among direct care workers. Now, I want to address the problems with family caregivers. When I started my site it's 23 years ago, I started with aginghomehealthcare.com. And at that time, I was shocked to learn that the statistics for the family caregiver were 50% became seriously ill or even died before the person they're caring for did. That was scary for me, and I couldn't understand. After 23 years, I'm very well aware of why this happened. In fact, I have to tell you some disturbing news. 63% of family caregivers become seriously ill due to the chronic stress they're under, or they die before the person they're caring for does. We need to address that. We also have another key aspect in the post-pandemic world, and that is addressing the social isolation of seniors and their family caregivers. The pandemic exacerbated these feelings of isolation among seniors and their caregivers, contributing to the mental health issues like depression and anxiety. Again, there's fear and phobias about getting COVID came out and brought many to the surface. We have a crisis where we have more seniors than youth, and we don't have enough people to even check on all the seniors. So it's going to be challenging over the next 10 to 20 years as the aging population of the baby boomers hits its peak. In 2030, the youngest of the baby boomers will finally be retiring. And the aging baby boomers, the oldest of them, are turning 80 in 2035, I believe. So we have to make efforts. While efforts have been made by the scientific community to tackle this issue by promoting social activities and building connections, I have a solution for that I will address very soon. We need community support and connection, and I perfectly agree with that. During the pandemic, community support and connections surfaced as a ray of hope. They played a crucial role in providing the safety net, offering support and resources to caregivers and seniors, making the challenges of the pandemic more bearable. Not everybody experienced that. I think in the larger cities, they may have, but the people in the suburbs and the communities, I think, still feel isolated and numb and alone post-pandemic. So let's talk about virtual communication tools. Virtual communication tools turned into an integral part of maintaining connections during the pandemic, as they allowed people to feel like they were in the same room with their loved ones. They help seniors stay connected with loved ones and alleviate emotional distress, providing a lifeline to those in the midst of isolation. I can tell you from my personal experience, I have family members that had a loved one in the nursing home. I know my cousin was in a nursing home, and she was my babysitter when I was younger, and Joanne's developed dementia, and she died alone in the nursing home because they wouldn't let anybody in to visit and sit with her. What happened was tragic during the pandemic. Now here's the other extreme of that. I have a client whose mom was in a nursing home, and she's a force to be reckoned with. And she went when they called and said her mom was dying, she went to the nursing home and insisted she visit with her mom, so the staff snuck her in the back door. They put, like, a hazmat suit on her for her to sit vigil while her mom was passing. So it just depends on the people and the situation, but most people suffered needlessly the pain and anxiety of worrying about their family member as they died alone. It just breaks my heart. Let's talk about the grassroots initiatives to address the growing caregiver crisis. Grassroots initiatives stepped up to address the caregiver crisis, providing much needed support and resources. These initiatives provided essential interventions, information, and direct support, easing the burden on the caregivers. There needs to be an ongoing public education and the need of support for the family caregivers. I'm recommending everybody look into creating a care team partner support group for you. It's all over my website about how to do that. My How to Be a Patient Care Advocate course takes you step by step into not only advocating for your family member, but to creating that care team partner support group. They need to, and we need to get this as a national movement to create awareness that we don't have enough youth to care for our elderly and aging population. And we need to do something, creating a national campaign, if you will, identifying the needs of the caregiver and their care recipient, and the promotion of a caregiver care team partner support group would be really helpful. Let's talk about the essential insights, lessons from the pandemic on enhancing caregiver support and transportation solutions. The global pandemic has cast a spotlight on various societal issues, including the challenges faced by caregivers and the elderly, particularly in the realm of transportation. A notable concern is the struggle to transport loved ones to essential destinations, such as medical appointments and social gatherings. A 2018 survey by the National Aging and Disability Transportation Center revealed that approximately 40% of caregivers devote a minimum of 5 hours weekly to managing or providing transportation. This lack of transportation option not only poses logistical difficulties, but also contributes to feelings of isolation among the elderly, which can escalate the risk of serious health conditions. My suggestion is that every single family caregiver needs to create a care team partner support group. They provide practical assistance, and you can identify one person to help you identify the community. That one person can be the transportation manager, and they can ask others on the team if they're available to do the driving to various programs. That's on the personal level, but several community transportation initiatives exist to alleviate this burden. Programs like Dollaride, which is supported by local governments, cater to individuals over 65 or those qualifying under the American with Disabilities Act. Additionally, organizations like Shepherd Center of America mobilize volunteer drivers to assist in transportation needs. While Medicare typically covers only emergency medical transport, recent changes have enabled more Medicare Advantage plans to include transportation benefits. This shift saw a 25% increase in such benefits in 2020 as reported by the Medical Transportation Access Coalition. Innovative solutions have also emerged. For instance, Denver Health collaborated with Lyft in 2017 to provide patient transportation, particularly after an incident where an elderly patient lacked timely transport. This program, funded by the Denver Health Foundation, offers crucial transportation services, especially for patients without other options. Similarly, San Antonio's Safe Ride Health has partnered with Lyft to streamline transportation arrangements through user-friendly software. Their goal was to simplify access to transportation with a simple click, ensuring patients can easily secure a ride to their appointments. These advancements demonstrate a growing recognition of the need for improved transportation services for caregivers and the elderly, particularly as the population ages. The pandemic has highlighted this critical aspect of caregiving, underlying the importance of accessible and efficient transportation solutions in supporting the health and well-being of our communities. This is another area that the private sector should step up to the plate and address in their communities. And I can tell you right now, that's the goal with the Care Team Partner support groups. We're trying to get churches to create support groups, Care Team Partner support groups, to focus on a variety of needs that the caregivers, the family caregiver needs, including transportation. I want to talk about now about the dementia care during the pandemic. Dementia care experienced significant impacts during the pandemic. With increased negative symptoms, caregiver support challenges, and the need for digital technologies to enhance care, dementia care faced unique challenges. These unique challenges are going to continue to be ongoing with the shortage of healthcare providers and not enough youth to provide for our seniors. They saw an increase in negative symptoms. Seniors with dementia experienced increased negative symptoms during the pandemic, highlighting the need for additional support and resources. Caregiver support was almost non-existent during the pandemic, and it hasn't improved much since. Caregiver support for those with dementia was crucial during the pandemic. Family members and professionals faced unique challenges as they navigated the uncertain waters of dementia care during a global crisis. The majority of family caregivers felt abandoned and helpless, leading to further mental health decline. So I want to address digital technologies for dementia care. Digital technologies emerged as valuable tools for dementia care during the pandemic. They helped enhance the lived experience of those with dementia and provide much needed support for caregivers. These digital technologies were limited, and many family caregivers did not have the knowledge to take advantage of these technologies. I also want to address the lessons in adaptability and resilience. The pandemic taught valuable lessons in adaptability and resilience. These lessons included personal growth, business adaptation, and policy changes to provide a roadmap to support caregivers and seniors in the future. There was also a lot of personal growth and being during the pandemic. Personal growth and being were vital for caregivers and seniors. Many were increasingly challenged to focus on self-care and stress management. Many of them failed. So many family caregivers continue to find a silver lining amidst this crisis. I've had some quite an experience with some caregivers. Some caregivers are so positive and upbeat no matter what. They see the silver lining in everything. And then we have the reluctant caregivers who were put in situations to caring for someone that they feel forced into the situation. And that's caused a lot of anger and angst among family caregivers. It's a tough battle that we're facing along a caregiving journey. I want to talk about the business adaptations to address the need of direct care workers and family caregivers. Businesses tried and are continuing to try to adapt to address the needs of direct care workers and family caregivers during the pandemic. They've demonstrated resilience and innovation by improving communication, setting clear plans, reviewing sick leave and remote work policies, offering flexible work arrangements, providing resources and support, creating an awareness that is a need for more supportive culture for caregivers. Employers have a long way to go to support the family caregiver. In order for companies to survive, they are going to have to get very creative in how they support the working family caregiver. There's changing policy to encourage a national movement to encourage building care team partner support groups. Policy changes need to create a national movement to establish care team partner support groups to provide practical support for care recipients and their family caregivers. These groups would provide practical support for caregivers and their care recipients, highlighting the importance of community support and connection and education of the needs of the family caregiver. Practical support means not providing hands-on care, but providing a caregiver in other ways, with transportation or help with meals or yard care or pet care. There's a variety of different needs that a family caregiver needs to be supported throughout their family caregiving journey. And we are going to try to help the family caregivers move towards this model of care. As we are addressing the caregiver crisis, we learned that mitigating the caregiver crisis involves expanding advanced technology to assist seniors aging at home and promoting ongoing technological advancements, employer programs to address the needs of the working caregiver. The financial aspect of family caregiving also has to be addressed. The family caregiver provides over $650 billion of unpaid care. They do so at the detriment of their own physical, mental, and financial well being. So while government policymakers are talking about creating tax benefits for the family caregiver, I personally think this is just unacceptable. There must be a focus on financially supporting the family caregiver. And I say that because I have worked with family caregivers for over 30 of my 50 years in nursing. And I have seen the challenges they face. Most don't have an income or very little income. They are not paid. They have no health benefits. They ignore their own health. And you can't, what can somebody who has no money do with a tax credit? I need that explained to me. That's not acceptable. Now, it might be better to offer the care team partner support group volunteers tax benefit credits. That would be where I'd go with it, but I'm just a simple little nurse. The family caregiver provides care for years. They pay many out-of-pocket expenses with no income. As they are taking care of their loved one, they are unable to save for their own future. Those providing care for people with dementia are impacted with providing the best possible care at home as they try to avoid an admission to a memory care unit. We are also seeing the government policymakers create Medicare programs that include cost sharing. These challenges will have a devastating impact on the care recipient, the family caregiver, and the communities they live in. The high copays, the high deductibles, and the cost rising out of pocket expenses impact the care provided for every single person needing care. I was recently helping a family caregiver find the right program for his wife to receive therapies in a skilled care unit. While we were waiting, I heard a woman gasp and then start sobbing. She had just learned that the Medicare Advantage plan cost sharing for this benefit was to be $250 a day. The recommended treatment by the doctor was now being questioned. How does a family caregiver provide the necessary care? The pressures that are being placed on the unpaid family caregiver is not sustainable. And I recently read an article about how the wealth of the baby boomers is being transferred. Here's what I learned. The impact of Medicare cost sharing on inheritance and wealth transfer from baby boomers to millennials and Gen Xers. The increasing cost sharing responsibilities imposed by Medicare are set to significantly affect the welfare transfer from baby boomers to younger generations, particularly the millennials and the Generation X. As Medicare shifts more financial responsibility to consumers, out of pocket healthcare expenses for the elderly are on the rise. This trend can reduce the amount of inheritance left to younger family members. Traditionally, wealth transfer from older generations has been a significant source of financial stability for younger people. However, with baby boomers now facing higher healthcare costs in their later years, the expected inheritance of millennials and Gen X may be substantially lower. The escalating medical expenses, which include costs not covered by Medicare, must be paid out of pocket, diminishing the savings and assets that the boomers can now pass down. This shift not only impacts the direct financial inheritance, but also influences the overall financial planning strategies of younger generations. Millennials and Gen X might need to adjust their expectations regarding family inheritance and focus more on personal savings and investments to secure their financial future. In summary, the growing burden of healthcare costs on the elderly, exacerbated by Medicare's cost-sharing policies, is poised to reshape the landscape of wealth transfer across generations. As a result, younger generations may find themselves with reduced financial legacies, prompting a need for revised financial planning and saving strategies. I also want to talk about the growth of advanced technology to support seniors aging in place. Advanced technologies have the potential to support seniors aging in place. By enhancing the safety and independence of seniors, these technologies can reduce the burden on caregivers and improve the quality of life of seniors. This represents the many emotions of caregiving. So now let's talk about access to affordable and regular respite care. Access to affordable respite care is crucial in supporting caregivers and seniors. It provides temporary relief and support, allowing caregivers to rest and recuperate while ensuring the seniors continue to receive the care they need. At the present time, the majority of family caregivers are not able to afford respite care services. And the reality is, the caregiving journey, on average, is 6 to 8 years. Some may provide care for as long as 20 years or longer. While the large disease-specific organization raised billions of dollars for finding cures, they have ignored the growing caregiver crisis. The stress and burden of caregiving statistics were bleak, like I told you before when I first started my site over 20 years ago. Then 50% of family caregivers became seriously ill or died before the family caregiver did. And now we're facing that statistic is 63%. And with the changes in the Medicare plans going to a cost-sharing platform and the rationing of care is already occurring, the future health of every single family caregiver is at risk. We must act and act now. It is time for family caregivers, and it is time for us to create a cure for caregiver stress and burden. It absolutely cannot be ignored any longer. I want to talk about the growing need for technology advancement to support aging in place. Japan has been preparing for their aging crisis by developing caregiver robots and other technologies for the past 20 years. Continued technological advancements are needed to support aging in place. As the population continues to age, the need for innovative solutions to support seniors and caregivers will continue to grow. I am seeing family caregivers coming up with solutions for the challenges and obstacles they faced. And it will be the ingenuity of the private sector and the entrepreneurship of the American citizen that will help us overcome the challenges we face every day. So let's talk about, are there silver linings? So let's talk about the silver linings and hope for the future. Despite the difficulties, the pandemic has offered glimmers of hope and positive aspects for our daily life in the future. These include a renewed appreciation for nature and opportunities for personal growth and reflection where happiness lies. So let's talk about appreciation for nature. The pandemic has fostered an increased appreciation for nature. Many found solace and relief in outdoor activities and natural environments. And I'm hopeful that the technology will bring nature and wonderful outdoor experiences to the lonely elders and the disabled with amazing VR experiences in the future. They may not be able to get outside, they may not be able to take a train or a bus or even walk to sightsee, but the VR experiences can bring to them to bring the beauty of nature outside to you in your home. And I'm excited about this because your brain doesn't know whether you're outside or not. Your brain sees things, it believes it. So it will help with it will help with decreasing stress, and it will definitely improve the well-being, emotional well-being of the person enjoying the VR experience. I want to talk about personal growth and reflection as well. During the pandemic, personal growth and reflection has been critical for caregivers and seniors. Most have learned valuable lessons in resilience, adaptability, and self-care. To summarize this, the pandemic has been a challenging time for everyone, particularly for caregivers and seniors. However, it has also provided us with opportunities to learn, grow, and adapt. From highlighting the importance of mental health and the need for a larger group of well-trained caregivers to the power of community support, these lessons have the potential to reshape the caregiving system for the better. As we move into post-pandemic world, these insights will continue to guide us, offering hope for a better future for caregivers and seniors alike. This audiocast has been brought to you by caregiverrelief.com. I'm Diane Carbo.